Hi and welcome. My name is T and let me guide you through Dirga Pranayama. I really like this breath. It's called three-part breath and usually it's taught as filling up 3/3 of your lung capacity. So you take an inhale to the first third, a brief pause, inhale, second third of lung capacity, pause, inhale again to the last third or fullness of your lung capacity, and then a long exhale to empty out. And as always with breath work, never strain your breath, or if you start to feel anxious about it, completely relax your breath, take an in and out breath, let it go. I like this breath so much because I visualize it physically move through my body, which helps me to relax my body even further. And whenever you are doing pranayama, in my opinion, when I'm practicing pranayama, it helps me to relax and to center myself. And usually that effect in the present moment stays with me afterwards for a little while, depending on what else I have to do afterwards. But breathing practices in yoga are so good for our nervous system because they tell our parasympathetic nervous system, the one in charge of rest and digest, that everything's okay because we can control and regulate our breathing. So let's take this moment and do this breathing exercise together. You can be seated like I am, or you can lie down, which is my preference usually when I do this breathing exercise because I can just let everything soften down into the ground. You could also be sitting in a chair, so long as it's comfortable and you can be a little bit upright rather than slouching if you're in the chair. So as I mentioned, it's breathing into 3 parts of the lung, or 3/3. But I like to visualize this actually as moving from the toes to my navel, the breath again moving from the navel to the heart on the second sip of breath, and then the last inhalation from the heart to the crown of the head. Of course, physically, those dimensions are not even, like toes to navel is longer than navel to heart, but that does not really matter. It's the idea of being able to visualize the breath moving through you and allowing you to have something to focus on. For some of us, that is really useful too. So make yourself comfortable, pause this video if you need to, and then restart it when you're ready. Close your eyes down, listen to my voice, let's breathe together. And inhale now. Part your lips, exhale and empty. Let your lips softly seal. Inhale your first sip of breath from the toes to the navel, pause. Inhale from your navel to your heart, pause. Inhale from your heart up to the crown of your head, it might be stretched. Exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, inhale, first third of breath, pause. Inhale, second third of breath, navel to heart, pause. Inhale, final sip of breath, heart to crown of your head. It might feel stretched. Exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, inhale your first sip of breath, toes to navel and pause. Inhale, second sip of breath, navel to heart, pause. Inhale your final sip of breath, heart to crown of head. Exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'll guide you again. Inhale your first third of breath. Pause. Inhale, second sip, filling up the second third. And then inhale up that final amount, really full up to the top. Exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, on your own now, feel the first sip of breath. Feel the second sip of breath when you're ready. Then your final one. And then guide yourself down, whether by a count or simply feeling the breath empty out completely. Do another round, toes to navel. Feel your second sip of breath. When you're ready, the final sip of breath with the brief pause at the top. And then when you're exhaling, see if the tempo can be steady from the start of your breath the way until it has completely emptied out. Do another round. It's going to be 3 inhales with brief pauses in between each one. When you've gotten to the top, let a long breath out, slow, steady. Notice if the rest of your body can still remain at ease as you take 2 more cycles of this breath. So a full cycle is when you've finished that exhalation. Feel the breaths move through you. Maybe observe the feeling that might arise at the pauses. And then observe your whole body as you exhale. What does it feel like? What might it be telling you? Noticing your last round of breath. Let's now take 3 rounds of breath on your own. Go ahead and find your first inhale with brief pause, guiding yourself internally. When you reach your exhale, allow the tempo to be steady from when you begin your exhale until you get to the very end of it. Starting again, your second round. Observe your exhale, easeful, steady, no strain. Coming to your last cycle of breath when ready. Is your body still at ease? Has anywhere held any tension unknowingly? When you come to your last exhalation, still follow it all the way to the very end. You can breathe comfortably now. No need to think about those breaths or the pauses or taking it in any other way. When you've come to the bottom of that breath, just release the idea of needing to regulate it any further. Let yourself breathe completely comfortably back to what you did before the breathing exercise. You can open your eyes in the next moment. Thank you so much for joining me for Dirga Pranayama today. Feel free to do this again anytime you feel like you want or need a moment to reset and ground yourself, or even at the beginning of your yin practice or before you begin meditation. It's a great way to center yourself and let your body and mind come into a softer and more receptive state for what you're about to do next. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.